Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It's Garlaanx here bringing you a new Neverwinter video, and today we are going to talk about the top AoE companions as well as single target companions. We've moved to a stage in the game now where we can hit all of our statistical hard caps and go back to summon companions if you so choose to, especially in the 10-man raids. A lot of the groups are now switching over to summoned striker companions. So we had to go through test these. If you watched my video on the companion updates, Cryptic's doing a full balance on, I'm assuming, every companion in the game. They've done a handful already. So we're going to look at the AoE companions first, and then we will jump into the single target companions. Alright guys, and as we're going to look at the single target companions a little later, I wanted to at least brush up on AoE. Now, personally, I don't think anyone should be using AoE companions as active companions. When you're doing dungeons and everything, you should be slaughtering everything fast enough. But hey, to each is their own. If you want to use a summon companion instead of augment, that's up to you. Now, the top three in the game, in my opinion, very quickly, we'll start with the green slime. Now, you can only get the green slime from Portobello's. However, it was removed from Portobello's. Portobello's is now an appointment vendor event, and the green slime does not drop from there anymore. I do believe you could still get green slimes out of just any random chest, but I cannot confirm or deny that. There are some on the auction house. I would grab them up as soon as you can, in my opinion. So for AoE, the green slime, in my opinion, is one of the best, if not the top two. Acid Aura deals damage over time to any foe that gets close enough to touch it. They put an internal cooldown, so it only has a proc rate of every 3 seconds, which coincides with Engulf. Grabs target foe, pulls them into the slime, and deals damage to nearby foes. You're looking for the AoE effect on this. Even though it pulls it in, you're wanting the AoE. They increase the radius on this. And then they have this thick sludge, which just basically slows down movement speed, so it's nice if you're soloing. So if we go over here and we just go ahead and attack this, try to get that set up there, as soon as my damage goes away here, we can really look at the damage. It's really hard to parse damage on AoE companions on PC, so I just wanted to give you guys a quick example here. But you can see the damage output. I mean, it clearly does a ton of damage. The Engulf hits anywhere from 60k to over 130k, depending if you're buffed. I mean, that one just hit for 165k AoE. And as far as I know, and as far as I can tell, there's no target limit on it. There probably is. It's probably 10 or more. But I use the green slime mainly when I'm soloing, doing the campaign grind, etc., or farming heroics or whatever. It does a lot of damage, plus it has utility. Like I said, it will slow the movement speed as well. So it does a ton of damage, AoE, and in my opinion, it's definitely one of the top 3 currently in the game. Alright guys, moving right along. Next on my list is the Dragonborn Grillmaster. Now, this is one of the companions that hasn't even been updated yet or adjusted or changed, so be very cautious of that. This damage is still unbalanced in the new modified Cryptic system. So the green slime was modified, the witch was modified, the Grillmaster has not been touched, and maybe they won't touch it, I don't know. So as of filming this video at least, this companion has not been balanced, and it's been one of those little secret companions that not a lot of people really paid attention to, but for AoE, in my opinion, it's one of the top 3. So you can get him from the summer event, which is coming up, but you're mainly looking at the Flame Broiler. 5 targets max. It sets them on fire, initial damage, and then DOT damage. The DOT damage is nice. It has a 5-second cooldown, so this is proccing fairly often in AoE situations. Serve them up when 3 or more enemies are near the Grillmaster. You get a little self buff. 2,000 power, 2,000 defense. Not really important, but hey, you know, buffs are buffs. And then Slice has a 1.7 second cooldown, and he slices up to 3 nearby foes with carving knives. So it's actually very decent for AoE. If we take a look at the raw numbers here really quickly, he's not going to be able to hit all of these, but you'll see him run over here, and then there's that flame broil, and then the DOT starts ticking. I mean, it's anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000 DOT damage, and it just ticks nonstop. And then he will reapply it over and over again because it has a cooldown of only 5 seconds. So it only hits up to 5 targets. The slime, in my opinion, is slightly a little better, but the both are very on par as far as overall damage. Again, in an AoE situation, everything should be dying remotely quickly anyway, but it is what it is. So the Grill Master, again, 5 targets maximum, and then the Slice 'em up, or the Slice rather, hits 3 targets as well. But yeah, when you're running through trash mobs, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Everything should be dying quickly. So once that fire DOT gets on it, it just assists your overall damage when you're running through, especially when you're soling. It's just a little bonus damage there. That fire DOT will start, just demolishing everything. Alright guys, and finally, in my top 3 is going to be the Shadar Kai Witch. You can see mine's not even leveled up. I don't use it. I personally don't like it. Other content creators have pushed this as the #1 AoE companion. In my opinion, the Slime or the Grill Master are definitely better. The only thing the Witch does have over the Slime and the Grill Master is that the Witch is more burst damage, which is kind of better when you're AoE clearing. But again, as I stated in this video, you shouldn't be using AoE companions, period. But we're looking at the Shadowed Mind here. It's a cloud of necrotic energy that damages and dazes targets. Grasp of Shadows is that burst AoE damage. It's the hand that springs out of the ground, does a ton of damage. And then the Shadowfell, necrotic blast strikes target foe and deals damage. So the Shadowfell is a single target. The problem I have with the Be-Shadowed Mind, this is the one that summons the big ball. The ball is not heat-seeking, so wherever she summons the ball, whatever enemies touch the ball, they're going to take damage. But if the ball was heat-seeking and it actually looked for enemies to hit, then this companion would probably be #1 best in slot AoE. What you're looking for is that 10-second cooldown for the Necrotic Hand. And the problem with the Necrotic Hand is that everyone has to be around it. So it is what it is. If your tank is grabbing all those enemies and gathering them up and then the hand goes off, fine. But if you're just running through stuff, then you can't count on that damage. So of course, as I'm filming a video here, someone's over here. But you guys should all be familiar with the Witch. And the problem with the Witch, like I said, that hand is just, like, she summons her ball. That ball should be heat-seeking, but it's not. And then she'll summon that hand, but that hand is only going to hit enemies that are all gathered up. So yeah, it's decent burst damage, but it's not constant damage, and it's unreliable, in my opinion. Now, the only place you could get the Witch is a Zen Market exclusive, which was being sold in Mod 24. As time progresses, it'll probably not be available in the Zen store. So if you would like to buy it, you should probably buy it. But keep in mind, it is a Zen Market exclusive. It's going to cost money, etc. So you can see her hand went off right there, and it was like 160,000. It's only hitting this one target, unfortunately. The radius on that hand is not very big. So it is what it is. If this ball was heat-seeking and it actually, tried to hit enemies and not just went off into the oblivion, then yeah, I could see this being a decent AoE companion. Again, I'm biased. I'm all opinionated. I don't think anyone should use AoE companions to begin with. So that's my top 3 AoE companions. Let's dive into the actual testing of single target companions and get this video over with. So looking at the single target companions, I didn't test all of them. Aragon made a full list. His numbers different from mine on some of these. And I'm not discrediting him or his testing. However, we can run, the same test over and over and over and over again, and all the numbers are going to be inconclusive. You have too many factors into play. Even doing these controlled environment tests, you'll see my testing, I run several tests over and over and over again, and I get different numbers every time. So a lot of these numbers do align. They are close together. I basically took the best of the best in my opinion. And I think I have 14 single target companions. So we're going to start at the worst, of course, make our way up to the top. So at the bottom of the list, in my opinion, is the Honey Badger. He does have internal mechanics that he does less damage the more damage he takes. So in my opinion, it's not very good. You can see the raw numbers here. He comes in at 32,000 encounter DPS. So as far as my testing goes, you can see my statistics on the screen. This was tested on the 35,000 item level dummy. 2 times Warlock's, using 3 is pointless, so Warlock's Inspiration times 2. Mythic Companion Enchantment. And then I do this 10 times. I test every companion at least 10 times. Trust me, I've done a lot more than that. But as far as testing this sample group goes, it's a 3-minute test. So this is a 3-minute test, and I do that 10 times, and I take the best result. So that's 30 minutes per companion. So you can see the time consumption it takes me to do stuff like this. So again, Honey Badger, single target, not very good in my eyes. The more damage he takes, the less damage he does. If he's getting healed, fine, he can maintain his damage. But I would not count on that. So you can see the damage here. 32,000 encounter DPS. He did 5 million damage. It's garbage. Absolutely just horrible. Next on the list, we have the Black Death Scorpion. Coming in at 47,000 encounter DPS. Did 8.8 million damage. Now, he's listed as a single target companion. However, in my eyes, he's a hybrid. The Black Death Scorpion should be used by a support character if applicable. There's other support companions that are much better than this, but the Black Death Scorpion has 100% time on combat advantage, so it's nice to have in certain situations. Again, not the best for single target damage, though. Next on the list, we have Rumpadump. Now, Rumpadump is actually really good when you start building a build for recharge speed. I'm actually going to have a second video on recharge speed. If you guys are using these striker companions, you have to be building around recharge speed. I'll discuss that in that video. That video will be coming out shortly after this video. So Rumpadump is one of those special ones that if you don't build around recharge speed, he's not the best. He's coming in at 47,000 encounter DPS, 8 million damage. He has DOT damage is where his damage comes from. But if you build him around recharge speed, he actually becomes one of the best single target companions. Again, that video will be coming out shortly as well, so look for that. Rumpadump, 47k. Next on the list, we have the Ice Sprite, ranged attacker. The problem with the Ice Sprite, likes to move around a lot. Very hard to maintain combat advantage, so if you're in a trial, not the best option. Only coming in at 48,000 encounter DPS, so not the best anyway. Next on the list, we have the Kuo Toa. Now this companion has a mechanic that the more people you have in the group, his damage increases. So if you have a full group, it increases by 10%, which is not that big of a deal. It'll slightly go up, but they're still better out there. So the Kuo-Toa is coming in at 50,000 encounter DPS. Again, not the best, kind of mid-tier toward the bottom. Alright guys, moving down the list, we now have the Blaspheme Assassin. So we have to talk about the Blaspheme Assassin. It got nerfed. It was doing enormous amounts of damage. They finally got it all balanced out, and it's not that great. It's single target. The reason is that the teleporting dagger, she just loses combat advantage all the time. So this is a Blaspheme Assassin that I tested without moving around, trying to maintain combat advantage. You could see combat advantage was only barely over 50%. That's why it only has 48,000 encounter damage. Now, if you want to play with those numbers, however, if we look at almost 80 to 100% combat advantage, then she does move up to 54,000. Again, not the best in game, however. And it's very impractical and improbable that she's going to have combat advantage 100% of the time anyway. And you can say that with all of these companions, for that matter, in a trial setting. So take that with a grain of salt. Blaspheme Assassin, 48k without CA, 54k with CA. Next on the list, we have the Shadow Demon, 53,000 encounter DPS. Again, he does teleport. However, when he teleports, he goes back to his original place, so he is able to keep his combat advantage. But again, mid-tier at best, not the best. Next on the list, we have the Pseudo Dragon, and that's coming in at 54,000 encounter DPS, which coincides with the 54,000 from the Blaspheme Assassin. However, the combat advantage damage is irrelevant. With the Pseudo Dragon, you can maintain that. Pseudo Dragon is also one of those companions that in a recharge speed build is going to outperform a lot. Again, we'll talk about that in another video. So Pseudo Dragon coming in at 54,000 encounter DPS, 3-minute test cycle. Alright guys, and let's talk now about the top 5 single companions, striker companions in the game right now, mod 25, starting at 55,000. Surprisingly, it's going to be Caddy. 55,000, a little over 55,000 encounter DPS, 10.4 million damage within 3 minutes. She's ranged, so she got a huge, significant overhaul since her original form. I mean, she was one of the worst companions in game as far as active companion goes. Now, in my opinion, she's top 5. She does share that spot with another one, but again, all these numbers are so close together. It all depends on the situation, what what content you're doing. There's so many variables in doing this testing. That again, it's all inconclusive, so take everything with a grain of salt. So Caddy, again, number 5. And she does share that with the Blacksmith, another companion that went from complete and utter dog shit to being very decent. So the difference, let's say, between Caddy and the Blacksmith, Caddy is going to be range DPS. The Blacksmith is melee DPS. So again, it all depends on that content that you're doing. So Blacksmith coming in at 55,000, encounter DPS 10.4 million, practically the same damage as Caddy. Again, Caddy is range, Blacksmith is melee. Let's get down to the top 3, folks. In my opinion, right now, best in slot, single target striker companions. Number 3 is going to be the Batiri Runt. It has a internal mechanic that it does more damage to ward bosses. And you can see it's only slightly better than the Blacksmith and Caddy. So when you're deciding to upgrade these or even purchase them to begin with, keep that in mind. The market fluctuates on all 3 platforms: Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Now, if you have these and you're thinking about leveling them up, then it depends on you, your play style, again, the content you're doing. So Batiri Runt, yeah, single target, Poison Bolt doing tons of damage. Poison Bolt did 8 million damage. So, it is what it is. Number 2 and number 1 are practically the same. I can't argue which one is better. Again, one is ranged, one is melee. Number 2 is the Greenscale Bowman. 60,000 encounter DPS with the stats that you see on your screen. 9.1 million damage. I mean, it's just the DOT ticks. The DOT ticks are what's providing the damage for this. The Greenscale Poison, you can see it hit 113 times. That's all DOT damage. The highest hit was 40,000. The lowest hit was 14k. So, I mean, the median hit was 27k. And that procced 113 times in 3 minutes. So, when you're doing those long trials, etc., if you need, like, burst damage per se, then the Bowman is decent. It's ranged, it stays alive when it can, etc. So, not much negative I have to say about the Bowman. However, the Spider did pull ahead, guys. Tomb Spider, in my opinion, does the highest amount of damage. 61,000, over 61,000, 61.3 to be exact. 61,000 encounter DPS. Again, statistics are on the screen. The statistics didn't change throughout all of this testing. Did over 11 million damage, and it's all coming from the DOT. In my opinion, I think it's broke. I don't think they wanted this companion to do what it's doing, but it is. So it was balanced already, and maybe they overlooked it, but the webbing actually stacks. You can see the webbing only hits for 9k. I've actually got it up to 10 to 11 to 12k a tick on the high end, and it hit, like, during this test, 876 times. 876 times it procced, adding all that damage. So it was 6 million damage. So those long fights, those long trowel fights, Tomb Spider, in my opinion, is probably best in slot. It is. It is what it is. The numbers don't lie. Again, it's all situational. All these numbers are inconclusive. I can run this test 100 times, and it could be more than 61k. It could be less than 61k. It is what it is in a controlled environment like this. But if we look at this in-game, for instance, it's the webbing that we're looking at. The Spider Fangs tear in the foe to deal damage. It has a 3-second cooldown. The Rake, again, has a 3-second cooldown. The Weaver's Grasp. The Tomb Spider attacks apply webbing, which slows the target and causes physical damage over time. Now, the problem with this, like I said, is that it's stacking. The more stacks you have, the better it gets. It's as simple as that. So every 3 seconds when he's attacking, that sucker stacks. The more stacks, the more damage, and it just keeps going and going. The most stacks I've ever gotten on a recharge build was 8. So a normal stacking amount is 5 to 6. Like right now, it has 5, and now it has 6. But one of those fall off, it goes down to 5. They last, 8 seconds, but the cooldowns are 3 seconds on his ability. So I can see them either nerfing it, changing, or whatever, but it's just constant damage. You guys can see the constant damage is what's eating the target away. Again, the numbers don't lie. They don't lie. So again, if we look at that, he was doing 61,000 counter DPS. That was in a 3-minute test. It procced over 800, almost 900 times in 3 minutes. So imagine a trowel that lasts 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes on a bad run. The Tomb Spider does a ton of damage. So again, take that with a grain of salt. You can use the Bowman. The Bowman will still do a ton of damage. The Bowman is ranged. The Tomb Spider is melee. So that's up to you guys what you want to run and, how you want to do it, etc. Again, I don't think this is working as intended. I don't think the damage should be stacking with the webbing, etc. I can see them rebalancing this down the road. They're not going to do it right away, but I can definitely see them doing it right away. So maybe a couple patches down the road, etc. We'll see. But it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Again, the numbers don't lie. Those were my test results. Again, they kind of differ from Aragon. If you guys aren't familiar with Aragon, go check out his channel. He has his companion videos posted, etc. And you can go to his spreadsheet, look at his testing numbers. He has tested a lot more companions than me. I'm not going to sit there and test every companion. The only companions that I really tested were the ones that they changed and the ones that were performing better than most, even with some of the changes. If we look real quickly, and then we're going to end this video, like they made the changes to the Man-at-Arms and the Shield Maiden. They're basically the same. They were doing like 50k in counter DPS, so I just said, you know what, I'm not even going to include them in the video. So as Cryptic goes and rebalances all of the companions in game, we may have some new winners, etc. But until that happens, that's my go-to for AoE and single target. Again, take that with a grain of salt. That's just the numbers and what I tested and what I came out with. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave them below. I will have a secondary video talking about recharge speed and why it's important, and why if you're going to have an active striker companion, you kind of have to build recharge speed. It's beneficial to do that. So we will make that video in a couple days. So I'll see you guys real soon.